unbelievable.
Several decades-old structures in the small town of Ranger in Eastland County now reduced to rubble after out-of-control fires burned through the town.
This building behind me right here used to be the fire station where I started my career. Next door there was a car lot.
The Ranger fire chief says it started with a barbecue pit. They got the call and were on scene within 2 minutes, but by then there were already multiple fires.
He already had 3 structures in danger. The middle structure caught on fire. When it caught on fire, we had embers flying all the way across our town, all the way across the tracks to the feed store. I mean, 6, 8 blocks, 10 blocks, we had fires.
A few blocks away, Samuel Pena and his family ran outside when they heard loud crackling.
We came outside and our whole backyard was just bursted into flames.
Flames that were several feet high.
Actually, you can see as high as the flames were on this tree, right underneath that branch.
Fighting against the wind with flames that kept reigniting. Samuel desperately tried to stomp out the flames and save his home.
He was out running, helping everybody with jugs of water, just literally carrying them back and forth.
I was terrified, very, very scared. I really didn't know what to do. All I was trying to do was keep the fire from going closer to our house.
Second Baptist Church occupied this destroyed building, which dates back to 1919, according to church members.
It's devastating, but at the same time, it's just a building. The church still stands.
The church's song leader, Wendy Rogers, says by the time she got to the building, it was already on fire and there wasn't much they could do.
I think I'm kind of numb right now. I don't think it's really hit. I believe we're a resilient group and we'll find a way. God will provide it.
But church members still plan to set up outside Sunday and continue on with services.
Live from the town of Carbon. Rebecca, these fires tore through that community.
It did, and look, one public official says it looks like a winter landscape out here. Everything is white, covered with ash. Look at this behind me. This truck is right in front of a home that is now just rubble, and there are firefighters from all across the state trying to contain this. It is a powerful sight to see. Fire consuming everything in its path. Families scrambling to grab what they can save. Raina St. Peter had to evacuate her home in Carbon.
Went in the house and just kind of held my hands up like, what do I do? What do I grab? Where do I start?
So she grabbed Lucy, the family dog, and ran out the door. As she drove off, she took these pictures.
The last vision I had was in my rearview mirror as flames, and that's when I knew how close it was to our house.
Her beautiful, just remodeled dream home reduced to ash. Devastating, but also heartbreaking. The family lost their 48-year-old pet parrot.
And if you want to hear a heartbreaking, heart-wrenching 13-year-old, she said, I just keep thinking of him. He squawked, and he squawked, and nobody heard him, and he died alone.
Governor Greg Abbott came to Eastland and signed a disaster declaration for 11 counties.
The fire is covering a lot of ground.
He says more than 50 homes have been lost so far, but expects there will be many more, and caution residents that weather conditions and strong winds are making it hard to fight these fires.
If there's a strong wind behind it, they can move extraordinarily fast, and your home, your neighborhood can be engulfed extremely quickly. We've seen it happen.
At least 500 homes have also been evacuated as more than 45,000 acres have burned. But some residents have been hesitant to leave, and authorities say that is making their jobs harder.
The first responders are taking time away from their homes, their families, their businesses. And if you are just so stubborn that you want to stay there, good luck.
Rescue crews have brought in dogs to go through the rubble to search for any fire victims. It is sobering to see the aftermath, like this child's little fire truck burned. Just as night fell on the second day of these fires, some of the families say they are still holding on to their faith.
We may not ever know why, but God does know, and we will rise. We will
Four
arrive,
separate fires
I assure
burning
you.
in central Texas, collectively called the Eastland Complex Fire, continue to wreak havoc.
The blaze was 15% contained as of Friday night, and the governor signed a disaster declaration for 11 counties in response to the fire. Now, this is aerial video of the aftermath after a fire burned the entire small town of Carbon. And NBC's Morgan Chesky has a look at the damage in another city.
In Texas, high winds making for a desperate fight to contain a fast-moving wildfire. Hundreds evacuating about 2 hours west of Dallas. The small town of Ranger devastated.
I've been fire chief here 40 years, and when you have something like this, it hurts. It hurts the whole community.
And the fire taking a deadly turn. Authorities sharing that Deputy Barbara Finley was killed after she ran back into the smoke to check on an elderly resident. A neighboring department paying tribute, writing, "We will kneel in prayer for her family, friends, and colleagues as they mourn." Morgan Chesky, NBC
We start
News.
off with an update to those fires burning out in Eastland County. That's about an hour-and-a-half drive from Fort Worth. The fires have scorched more than 45,000 acres through Eastland, Brown, and Comanche counties. That complex is 15% contained right now, so a lot of work to be done still. One person has been killed. Deputy Barbara Finley died trying to save people from the flames. We haven't heard anything about a possible cause for these fires just yet. Our Malani Basu is in Eastland County tonight.
We're in Gorman, where we've been seeing volunteer firefighters going from fire to fire. Just to show you what's around me right now, these are volunteer firefighters. They just finished putting out one fire. Here they are on to the next. And off in the distance, if Josh could show everyone, you see that black right there? This is where the wildfires were. You can see it spread throughout the 11 counties. And also in the distance, if we can just show you this way, you can see black smoke right behind me. And if I walk over to the right, you can see there is more smoke right there behind me. This is what firefighters have been dealing with. And also, we know that families, of course, they are just left devastated. So many families have been trying to sift through the rubble and just get whatever they could from their homes. And you're looking a live look right over there. This is where they're bringing in some water tanks for these fires. So far, we know that only 15% has been contained. 45,000 acres have been burned, 50 homes are destroyed, nearly 500 other homes have been evacuated. And you can see there's another truck coming in right now with more supplies. As for supplies, there is a desperate need for some hay or some fence. Crews are out here. They are doing the best they can. And also, we know that family members have been getting some help over with the Eastland ISD. This is where a lot of people are being housed. That is going to be our next stop, and we plan on having another report for you at 10 o'clock. We'll be talking to some of those devastated, heartbroken family members. This is just so much to go through. For now, we are in Gorman.
هذا جانب من الأضرار التي خلفتها الهزة الأرضية التي ضربت ولاية ميناء صبيحة اليوم على مستوى حي الخربة ببلدية ميناء.
Willie Conway has been living on Springfield Circle for 37 years. He says for the past 17 years, whenever it rains hard, the sewage drain backs up, dumping water in front of his home. He has a message for city leaders.
Help! I need help.
Friday morning's downpour caused a problem again. Conway says it has had an effect on his health and the value of his property.
The neighbors been moving out because of it. Look, my property value going down because of that. Raw sewage coming in front of my house.
Around the corner, another flooded street.
I know it's been going on 30+ years, and it has gotten worse.
Where I'm standing is dry, but the further you go in that direction, the deeper the water gets, making the road impassable for small cars.
I've had to miss work. Other neighbors have had to miss work. And you know, employers can get tired. I had to send my supervisor pictures.
I reached out to city engineer Dr. Charles Williams. He says he is aware of the problem, but said he did not have enough information at this time to comment on today's flooding. Lynn Winston says she believes something can be done to fix the issue.
Every now and then a crew will come, and it's like the big trucks with like a vacuum cleaner, is what I call it, that they'll clean out the sewers. But it's more than that. I don't know, where I do know they need to break ground somewhere.
It's a shame a taxpayer paying taxes and y'all won't do nothing. And then reporting it. Then y'all act like we ain't did nothing. We ain't reported it. I've been reporting for 17 years. I can't get no help.
Marcus Hunter, 16 WAPT
the heavy
News.
Rain and flooding Detroiters felt last year will keep the Dearborn Hills Golf Course closed this year. The city says the course sustained significant damage during the June floods, preventing them from opening despite rebuilding efforts. They haven't given a timeline on when the course could open. City officials also say they have no intention of selling the property.
Shattering as we were going down to the basement, it was terrifying.
Those are what some in the Bullitt and Hardin County areas are echoing. The National Weather Service now confirms a tornado touchdown in those spots Friday night.
Right now, it looks like a EF1 tornado, about 100 miles per hour or so.
Mike 𝐄𝐩𝐡𝐞 is a warning coordination meteorologist for NWS Louisville. He says there are always surprises when it's time to survey the damage.
It's always amazing the power of wind, and it's just incredible the amount of tree damage we've seen so far and some of the roof damage we saw out to the west of Elizabethtown.
This is just some of the damage that surveyors with the National Weather Service say they've seen here in Lebanon Junction after a possible EF1 tornado with nearly 100-mile-per-hour winds stretched from Hardin County here into Bullitt County.
I lost it when we came upstairs and saw everything. It was really devastating.
Kendra and Brian Covell live in Hardin County. Like many in Kentucky, this isn't their first tornado, so they knew what had to be done to keep their families safe.
We just knew to, grab the kids and go, and don't worry about anything else. Just head down there, and that's what we did.
𝐄𝐻𝐡𝐞 notes that getting to a storm shelter or a basement is most important, no matter how strong you think the storm may be.
Doesn't look like a lot of damage here, just trees, but if they fall in a structure or a garage, if you're in a car or anything like that, it can be very dangerous.
For these neighbors in Bullitt County, well, that almost became their reality.
We got over here and walked past the shed and saw the tree limb laying here almost against the house. So
these storms could have been deadly, but they weren't, and 𝐄𝐻𝐡𝐞 says there's a reason for that.
We haven't had any injuries and thank goodness no deaths, but we like to think that has something to do with our warnings getting out on time and people taking the appropriate actions.
In Louisville, Ford Sanders, WHS 11 on your side.
We begin here at 7 o'clock with breaking news. An LA County Sheriff's Department helicopter with 5 people on board crashed this evening off Highway 39 and East Fork Road, north of Azusa in the Angeles National Forest. Air 7 HD was live over the scene just moments ago to get you this video. Good evening, I'm Jory Rand. This is Eyewitness News on KDOC TV, LA's only live local newscast at 7 p.m. That helicopter crashed after responding to an automobile accident in that area. We're still waiting reasons for why this helicopter went down, but those 5 patients, we are told, have been transported to Pomona Valley Medical Center. Sheriff Alex Villanueva is reporting that at least one of those deputies is now in critical condition. This is a live look over the Pomona Valley Medical Center. We see several Sheriff's Department vehicles standing by outside. This hospital is a level 1 trauma center, providing the highest level of care there is out there, which indicates doctors will likely be treating some very serious injuries. But again, only one of those deputies that we know of is in critical condition. 2 we're told are in moderate condition, and 2 of them suffering only minor injuries. So we're still waiting to see just exactly how this crash played out. whether the helicopter was landing and may have been closer to the ground or whether it might have fallen out of the sky, which you would expect much higher extent of injuries. But just incredible that all 5 as of right now have survived this crash. And again, only one of those 5, we are told, is in critical condition. This happens to come on the 1-month anniversary of the Huntington Beach Police Department helicopter crash off the coast of Newport Beach, in which 44-year-old Officer Nicholas Vea died in that crash. And so again, we are thinking of that as we look at this scene right here. As that helicopter lays on its side, we can see the bottom of Airship 5 for the Sheriff's Department. This is a larger helicopter than a normal helicopter we see flying around the skies of Los Angeles. Oftentimes, it doesn't have those 2 landing skids that a smaller helicopter would sit on the ground. It has wheels. This is a much heavier aircraft. And you can see there at the top right of your screen, the tail section nearly snapped off of this helicopter as it made impact with the ground. We do have one reporter, Leanne Suter, who is on her way to the scene right now. And she will certainly have you have the very latest. But again, several of these deputies were airlifted to the hospital. I believe we have some video of the helicopter. No, we do not have that. Okay, so we know that several deputies were airlifted to that Pomona Valley Medical Center. We will stay on this and bring you the very latest as we continue our coverage throughout the evening. We have.
Hello, I'm Mark Brown. Get more great ABC7 content by clicking the subscribe button for our YouTube channel and download the ABC7 Los Angeles streaming app on Fire TV, Android TV, Apple TV, and Roku to watch on your TV.
State water officials are getting tough as they try to find ways to get people to reduce their usage. CBS 2's Rachel Kim live in Santa Clarita now with details on the crackdown and how it will affect water agencies and us. Rachel.
Well, Pat, as a result of the lack of significant rain and depleted reservoirs, the state of California has been asking communities to conserve water. The Santa Clarita Valley Water Agency says so far they've been trying to educate and inform customers, but now they're facing the possibility of enforcing watering restrictions. As the weather gets warmer, sprinklers across the Southland will be going off to keep grass and gardens green. But as California braces for another dry, drought-stricken year, today, state water officials said this year they will only give 5% of requested water supplies instead of 15% to several water agencies. That includes the Santa Clarita Valley Water Agency.
We may have to ask customers to reduce their irrigation use to 3 days per week. No more than 2 5-minute run cycles.
Dickens tells us after Governor Gavin Newsom called on Californians to voluntarily reduce their water use by 15%, Santa Clarita has seen 2% conservation in line with other parts of the state. He says most of the water waste we see is irrigation water running down the gutters and sidewalks. He believes watering restrictions can be avoided if residents stepped up their conservation efforts, like using high-efficiency sprinkler nozzles for turf grass.
The sprinklers, as they water the grass, are applying water at such a low rate that it's not going to run off, because many sprinklers apply water at a rate that's much faster than what the soils can absorb.
We definitely don't want restrictions where, we gotta, all right, just let your grass die and then start all over again. So yeah, we have to do something.
We put in this rockscape about 3 years ago, which helps, with the watering. I have some drought-resistant plants.
Dickens says residents in Santa Clarita and elsewhere should remember that cutting back 15% can be accomplished daily just by turning down your sprinklers.
For every day that you reduce your sprinklers, you're looking at somewhere between 70 to 200 gallons per day of watering. In July of last year, I turned my timers down by 20%, and I used the season percent adjust function on the timer, and my savings is down for my family and my home 17%.
Now to the latest on the war in Ukraine. Russia admits it used hypersonic missiles in Ukraine as forces push deeper into the city of Mariupol. And today, President Zelensky pleaded with President Putin to end the devastating war. Air raid sirens blare through the streets of Lviv, a city seen as a safe haven for Ukrainians escaping the violence until now. Residents now sheltering inside this gymnasium-turned-bomb shelter, praying to survive. A stunning admission from the Russian Defense Ministry, which says it used the country's newest hypersonic missiles for the first time in Ukraine on Friday when it destroyed a weapons storage site in the country's west.
He is escalating the war in Ukraine and using the kind of missiles that not only travel at supersonic speeds, but can avoid detection on the ground. This is a weapon that can really ultimately escalate this battle because we can't allow those kinds of hypersonic missiles to be able to now target areas wherever they want and not have the ability to bring them down. I think this is a dangerous escalation in the war.
In Mariupol, the scene of Russia's most vicious onslaught, the desperate search for survivors continues after Russia bombed a theater being used as a bomb shelter, clearly marked with the Russian word for children. The entire city is encircled in siege warfare, leaving hundreds of thousands of civilians trapped without food, water, heat, and electricity. It is a state of horror, this man says. When you walk around the city and see shell craters everywhere, when you don't know who stays where. I don't know where my son is since March 2nd. The United Nations estimates nearly 10 million Ukrainians have been displaced since the war started 3 weeks ago.
They're just crying so much, just hugging so much and tell goodbye, and we don't know, maybe they don't look each other anymore in this life.
Many of the refugees fled to Poland, where officials say they are overwhelmed by the sudden influx. Overnight, Ukrainian President Zelensky appealed directly to Moscow.
Time to talk. Time to restore territorial integrity and justice for Ukraine, or else.
President Biden spent 2 hours on the phone with Chinese President Xi Jinping Friday as Russia pressures Beijing to provide military aid to the Kremlin. The White House warned China it would face severe consequences.
Melting
if it helps
snow
Russia.
is uncovering mold that is giving allergy sufferers the blues. Snow mold is a lawn disease caused by a fungus that both looks like snow and tends to infect grass. It gets worse as the snow melts. As Rich Chapman reports, the melting snow is behind sneeze attacks and other symptoms connected to allergies.
It's a very unpleasant thing to go through. It feels very bad. It ruins your quality of life.
Itchy eyes and runny nose. Allergy sufferers are struggling with a change of seasons.
Mold that is under the snow during the winter, and then when that melts in the spring, it can release its spores into the air. And in people who are allergic, that can cause allergy symptoms such as itchy eyes, runny nose, sneezing, or sometimes asthma symptoms in people who have that.
Hennepin healthcare allergist Dr. Joshua Dorn says snow mold does not have to be in your yard or close by for it to affect you.
It releases spores into the air, usually in high enough quantities to travel quite a distance.
Lawns will start greening up as air and soil temperatures continue to rise over the next month. Snowpack is melting quickly in the lower third of the state, including around the Twin Cities. With warmer temperatures in the forecast, you can expect more melting and more sneezing.
But people with allergies this time of year can have symptoms from molds, or sometimes tree pollens, which starts very soon. Trees start to pollinate and really in late March, early April.
For the allergy sufferer, there are treatments to help you cope.
You start with like allergy pills that you can get at the store, and sometimes nose sprays. And then if that's not sufficient, then sometimes you need more intensive treatment like allergy shots or immunotherapy to help make you less allergic to those things.
Reg Chapman,
WCCO. Have you seen these three men? Chicago police just released new surveillance video hoping to find the gunman who shot and killed a 12-year-old girl on the way home from her own birthday party. City pod cameras captured these images of the killers. Back on March 1st, Nizaria London Moore was riding in the car with her family near 72nd and Oakley when someone started firing in the street. A bullet hit Moore in the head. She died 3 days later. Chicago police are offering a $15,000 reward for information leading to a conviction. Breaking news out of Kenosha, Wisconsin tonight. A Kenosha police officer who also worked school security has resigned over footage showing him kneeling on the neck of a 12-year-old girl while he was breaking up a fight. The Kenosha Unified School District released this video of the March 4th incident today. After the officer resigned from the district, you can see one girl get up and say something to the 12-year-old girl during lunch. That 12-year-old then stands up. There's a fight, and that's when the officer attempts to break it up. The video appears to show him with his knee on the 12-year-old's neck as he holds her to the ground before standing her up and walking her out of the school cafeteria. Now, both the district and Kenosha police are investigating. Earlier this week, the 12-year-old's father and attorney called for the officer to face charges.
She did not deserve what happened to her, and she also does not deserve the attention that this event can create.
She's humiliated. She's traumatized. Every day I got to hear, Daddy, I don't want to go to school.
The attorney says Kenosha police are recommending charges be filed against the 12-year-old. The family is planning on filing a lawsuit. Both the school and Kenosha police continue to investigate. Right now, a sad update. A woman pulled from Lake Michigan on Thursday has been identified as Evanston activist Elise Mallory. Let's get right to CBS 2's Sabrina Franza, who's live near the location where her body was recovered. Sabrina.
Hey, Dana, yeah, the search for Elise has been going on in full force for days. It was even scheduled to continue this morning, but was postponed because of the rain. And now that search is over. And Elise Mallory, she was 31 years old. She was known for being an activist in the Evanston area, lifting up the voices of local LGBTQ+ community members as a Black trans woman. She was a powerhouse. She'd been missing since March 9th. Her last known contact was with her sister Fabiana at 9 a.m. that day. The front and back doors to her apartment were left open, and her 2008 blue Honda Accord was found 2 blocks away. Around 4:30 yesterday, police said they found a woman's body by the rocks along Lake Michigan at Garden Park. And today, police confirmed that that woman was Elise Mallory. And it's not clear if there was any foul play in this incident, but we're going to stay on top of this story and bring you the latest information as soon as we have it. We're live in Evanston.
We start this afternoon with questions about another wave of COVID hitting our state. We are seeing some cases go up a little bit while we wait for today's numbers to update for you. Yesterday had just less than 1,500 positive cases reported. Now our testing positivity rate is still very low, just over 2.5%. But today, the city of Denver says the stealth Omicron variant is now here. CBS 4's Dylan Thomas joins us live tonight from Larimer County. And Dylan, seems like we've had a few quiet weeks of COVID coverage, but the cases we know are starting to pop up a little bit.
Karen, especially in other countries like China and the United Kingdom. But meanwhile, health experts here in Colorado tell us they aren't overly concerned about the possibility of the surge happening here in Colorado. Colorado has a significant immunity rate between vaccinations and natural disease infection. And thus far, the new variant is causing commotion that really shouldn't be too much to worry about because it's always mild symptoms.
We're obviously keeping an eye on this because the situation continues to be dynamic.
It's been weeks since we've heard from experts like UC Health's Dr. Michelle Barron, which is a good thing. That's because when it comes to COVID cases here in Colorado,
we've been decreasing pretty dramatically for a while there.
But now cases in Colorado, the United States, and even major countries around the world are trending upward, right as many head out for spring break.
With travel, we could certainly see people bringing things in.
Both Dr. Barron and the health department in Larimer County tell CBS4 they aren't overly concerned by the upcoming surge.
So far, BA2 seems to be behaving just like Omicron.
Meaning it tends to come with mild symptoms and lower hospitalization rates.
I feel okay, but it's with cautious optimism. 90% of people in Colorado are currently immune either through vaccination or through natural disease. And so that's a pretty high level of protection in our community, even with the BA2 variant potentially surging in other parts of the country or in the world. And I think, we've all been very reassured by our high rates of immunity and the low rates of transmission, but we're not at zero.
So if you're just now heading out for spring break or plan to socialize over the weekend,
it is safe if you've got all your vaccines, you've got your booster, and you're being smart.
There's a lot of talk right now about a fourth booster shot. Those here with UC Health say it's important if you're over the age of 65 to reach out to your doctor and talk to them about the possibility of getting that in the coming weeks and months. Here in Larimer County, the health department says they are happy to have that 90% immune rate, and they don't expect that to drop until roughly June or July. And when it does drop, they expect it to drop to around 80%, which is still pretty good. Reporting live in Larimer County, Dylan Thomas, covering Colorado First.
Clear skies overnight meant a bright sky over Pittsburgh. Take a look at March's full worm moon. So why is it called a full worm moon? Well, Native Americans named it that because this is the time of year when earthworms start to emerge. It's also known as the crow, sap.
Welcome to Times and Science. We are on rumble.com, all caps, Times and Science. We are also can be found on Living in the End Times and Times of Science YouTube channels. Please join us. We are the last generation. Join our team on our Wix website, Times and Signs. Subscribe to our Facebook, Times and Signs, and subscribe to our Rumble.com channel, all caps, Times, Signs. The mark is coming. Revelation 13, 16, 18 covers this background that the mark of the beast is coming. That you can't buy or sell, trade without the mark of the beast in the right hand or in the forehead, which in Hebrew and Greek means the arm. In Revelation 14, you'll hear about what happens to those who worship the beast or his image and whoever takes his mark. Stay prayed up in the Lord, for we're in the end times, folks. Jesus is the only way. We'll definitely keep you updated on any more changes in the future. And you can make donations to PayPal me, Avea Klein, paypal.me/Avea Klein. Thank you.